Ladies and gentlemen, a British national woman has been allegedly raped by a man, even molested by another in a hotel in Delhi's Mahipalpur. The victim was in a country for a holiday, visiting Maharashtra and Goa, when the accused requested her to visit Delhi. The woman as well as the accused, the British national as well as the accused, had got to know each other through Instagram over the last few months. The accused have been arrested. Down south, two women, including a tourist from Israel, were allegedly raped, and a male tourist from Odisha drowned after being pushed into the Tungabhadra River Canal near Hampi. The tourists were attacked by three local youths on March 6th while they were stargazing. This region, dotted by several low-cost resorts, and is loved by backpackers from across the world for its old world charm. And remember, it was just last month that a court in Goa found a 31-year-old man guilty of raping and murdering a British-Irish backpacker at Palolem Beach in March 2017. There have been instances of vloggers accusing of harassment, including, if you remember, a Japanese tourist who was allegedly harassed by a group of men during Holi celebrations in Delhi in 2023. But how should this all be looked at? Sure, this isn't the entire India. But how do these instances affect India? From tourists to hotels to law and order to women to brand India. From economics to the reputation to safe spaces. Joining me tonight is Lisa Taylor, who's not just a UK national, but is also somebody who's an entrepreneur and visits India every year. She lives for almost 6 months in a year here. She works here. She also is very closely linked to the tourism industry. Thank you very much, Ms. Lisa Taylor, for joining us. We're also being joined at this point by Shobha Rudra. I think she'll be shortly joining us. She's a founder partner for Rare India. Also joining us is Pragya Saini, founder. This is Delhi, as well as Abha Singh, who's a lawyer and activist, as well as Bhaskar Rao, former police commissioner of Bangalore. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Well, first, let me straight go to you, Ms. Lisa Taylor. How do you look at the instances that have emerged? The recent instances, every now and then we keep hearing of instances. You know, the last few have been right from, say, Hampi to what's happened in Delhi. How do you look at this as somebody who frequently travels to India, lives in India quite often for months in a year? How do you look at this?
I've been coming to India for 30 years on business, so I'm not a tourist. I work here professionally. I now live in India from October to March every year because I've got a travel and design business. So I guess I've got a lot of experience of coming here. And I've always had a really good experience being in India. It's quite interesting for me. I mean, obviously, I've lived in London for 25 years, and my view is I would be as sensible in Delhi and Mumbai and Goa and everywhere else I travel as I would be if I was at home in London. To me, personally, I've literally just been on the metro this evening. I do Ubers, I have got personal drivers, but I also do the metro and I walk. Never at all do I ever feel unsafe, but I'm sensible. I'm sensible. I wouldn't be out late on my own in an area that I didn't know. I think the metro is great. I love the fact that there's all-female cars, which I always use. So overall, after coming here for such a long time, I can honestly say in my 30 years here coming to India, I've never had a bad experience.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. But Miss Lisa, if I can ask you this, I mean, you are associated with the tourism industry as well. You have a business around it all. When instances such as this happen in India, what are the kind of questions that people ask you, say back in UK? Are these things discussed? Do these emerge as concerns at all?
Sure. I mean, as I am bringing people out, I bring in with my travel business, I'm bringing women out to India the whole time, and we're coming straight into Delhi.
Okay.
So of course they're asking me questions. They obviously there is a sense back in the UK that you have to be careful in India. But I would say you'd have to be careful as well if you were going to Mexico or you were going to any other country. But certainly the questions that I get asked are, is it safe to go on public transport? Is it safe to use the Ubers? Like, are they the same, for instance, as Uber back in the UK? So I do get asked all those questions, and I make sure when I bring guests over that we experience getting the train, that we experience getting the metro. We're just not sat on buses driving around the city, so it's too sanitized. I feel that if you're bringing tourists over, you have to give them the real view of India.
So, Miss Lisa Taylor, are you then saying essentially that this is not an India problem alone, or this is not a tourism problem alone, this is a woman problem? This is something that you face across the world, being a woman. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I would say any woman traveling anywhere in the world would have to be practical, sensible, and evaluate the risk at all times. I definitely wouldn't just pin it down as an Indian issue. I mean, I could tell you this goes on in London. I travel all the way through Europe. I've lived in Sydney. I've lived in Hong Kong. It happens everywhere. So I think it's naive to think it's just a problem that's in India. I think it's everywhere.
Well, Lisa Taylor, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for your time and your perspective. Thank you so much. Wish you the best. Well, Shobha Rudra, if I can come to you at this point, we were just talking to Lisa Taylor. How do you look at this, Ms. Shobha Rudra? You are associated with the hotel industry. You are an entrepreneur, a businesswoman yourself. When you hear instances such as this, I mean, Lisa Taylor, somebody who comes from UK, lives in India, months in a year for that matter, around 5 to 6 months in a year, she's saying that, I mean, I would be sensible, as sensible I was in London, and I would be as sensible as in India. But as an Indian entrepreneur yourself in this industry, Shobha, how do you look at the kind of instances that have emerged? Does this unfortunately just reiterate the fact that the onus of safety seems to be on women?
Thank you for having me here. It's a very important question, something that we, as women, working women, from the time we've started to use public transport or traveling in buses and things like that, we ask ourselves all the time. And with two young girls, I've always questioned. I've always questioned how safe it is for girls to go off on their own. I've known instances where my niece was driving between Gurgaon and Delhi, and she was stopped, and her car was they kept banging at her car, on her car till she literally ran for her life. So unfortunately, it always comes up into a big question, and we harp on the fact that they were tourists, but isn't this exactly what we face? So, I mean, in general, this is what we face everywhere, and for all of us as working, even when we were in college and things like that, to keep ourselves safe was something which I think our parents would say, and even ourselves, we are quite wary of where we go. The reason why I told you a friend of mine started this company called Safety Pin was to basically create an app and to mark out safe spaces for people. And think about it, any Indian girl, any one of us, if we befriended anyone on Instagram and we invited him over to our room, what are the what are the chances, right? And I mean, I would say, like Lisa says, I would be very, very careful. Sadly, you have to look at ground reality, right? Uh, and this is how it would be,
So,
I think, in most parts of the world. Yeah.
so Ms. Shobha, when you say that, let's put in perspective. Some of these have happened out in public spaces, out in the open. Some have happened in the hotels. So, I mean, if there is a hotel, there has to be certain basic safety, security measures in place. You have all sorts of hotels mushrooming. Like in this area near Hampi where it happened, it's a backpacker's delight. You have all forms of resorts, including the low-cost resorts for that matter. And how does one really look into it? How, as a tourist, how do you decide? Forget about being a tourist or a foreign tourist. Just as a woman who wants to go somewhere, instinctively, we would know. I, I mean, you're already on the back foot once you decide that you want to travel, don't you? Aren't you?
Yeah. 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 So, yes, one of the most important questions you ask, and I've been promoting homestays and small boutique hotels for a very, very long time. And safety is one of the first and most primary things that you ask. And solo travel is on the rise, and personally as well. When you are traveling and you set yourself, and I know a lot of women who are into solo travel. In fact, I was talking to another friend who's been traveling to India for the last 25, 30 years, and she said she went to a place and did not feel quite safe. Right. I must say that when you're walking around in India, and if there is an English woman next to you, a little bit of staring and hooting, or some kind of this thing does happen. As it happens to, I've known friends who say in the trains they are stared at and things like that. Now, the connotations of this could be very different. But personally, I would double check, and I would do it if I was traveling abroad anywhere. I would have definitely check. Remember, there was a time when they used to be, where you used to go and what was it called? You could go and book yourself into homestays or personal homes of people. One of the first things that you did was check and double check. You looked at reviews. You check where you're going. Little hotel in Mahipalpur. Is crowded. Does it meet all the safety requirements? Does it require all the homestays, for instance? When owners are there, it's a different matter. But then there's so many homestays that are mushrooming up. Are the safety standards like CCTVs, are all of that in place? Who's doing this? Who's checking these things? So that is for the traveler also to be, looking into it. I'm not for a minute saying that, India is safe, but it is as safe or as unsafe it is for a traveler as it is for our own people, our own children, or the ladies who are traveling. So I think in the scenario, the onus is on us to see where we are going, why would we be in a place like this, and what kind of scenario are you setting yourself up for. I think that is something that I would
Right.
say, and double check the hotels 100 times before you even sign up for it.
Right. In fact, if I can get an Abha Singh at this point, Abha, my team was just putting in some data, and we were just looking at these cases against tourists and foreign tourists in particular. 148 rape cases, convictions. Um, Sorry, there were 148 rape cases against foreign tourists between 2016 to 22. 9% cases were disposed. And there's another, just a very mere percentage, just about 5% really resulted in convictions. Just 5% resulted in convictions. What's really the challenges here? We have recently the case in Goa where the conviction has happened. There's another instance in Trivandrum, which was a few years back. I think it was in 2018, where a Latvian woman was raped and murdered. Eventually, that case also saw a sense of justice where there was a conviction. But what explains this extremely low rate of convictions in cases such as these?
You can really count the number of conviction in rape cases of foreign nationals. As you said, it's just 5%. Even if we go by the conviction rate of rape victims of Indian women, it is just 28%. So NCRB figures say that 28% conviction. Every 15 minutes, a woman is raped. Reported rape cases are 31,000. So not only the foreigners, but even Indian women are equally unsafe in this country. And the reason is that there is no fear of the law. The people who brutally raped Hampi, the Israel tourist, they were not scared of the law. And the person who came to help this victim, they killed him also. So somewhere there is a breakdown of law and order. Secondly, you have death penalty, but how many people actually get death penalty? Most of the rapists go scot-free, and that is the reason that rapes are happening with impunity. Also, what is important is the rampant corruption. When you go to lodge an FIR in the police station, they try not to lodge an FIR, they try to weaken the case, and they try to write a case which favors the criminals and the rapists. So that is another reason. And the third reason is the slow pace of the judiciary. It's very seldom you talk of fast-track courts, fast-track justice, but in very few cases there is fast-track justice. Otherwise, it takes years and years. Also, another issue is victims. Victims are terrorized, witnesses are terrorized, and in foreign national cases, the main issue is that since there are tourists, they go back. So when the trial comes up, they are not there to depose. Otherwise, the thing would be that when these victims are there and they come
there
and lodge
seems
the
to be
FIR,
some
their
connection
statement
issue.
should be
We'll
taken
try and
before the
restore that
magistrate.
connection issue. Okay, go ahead. We can hear you. Finish your sentence.
Some issue in connection. So, yeah. So, what I was saying,
Okay. All right. Can I just get in at this?
There is no fear of the law, corruption, judiciary is slow, and
Right. Right. Okay, we'll try and fix that. There's also delay in communication. We'll try and fix that. Bhaskar Rao, if you can come in. We just heard Abha Singh speak at this point, and she also spoke about how there seems to be absolutely breakdown of law and order. That's what she believes, that there's no fear, there's no punitive action, there's delayed action. It's easier to commit a crime and to not face the consequences. How do you look at the instances that have happened? And, I mean, it's on the rise. It's clearly visible it's on the rise.
All the panelists have been very right in their observations, and especially Abha Singh has put it in a very straightforward way. See, we have a culture where we sort of try to fleece a tourist over there, and often, as other panelists mentioned, that they are stared at, sometimes groped around and followed, and people ask for money, and they think that all white-skinned people have got a lot of money and they can give, and they are unnecessarily bothered around. Basically, foreign tourists anywhere in the world is vulnerable, and lone woman traveling is even more vulnerable. So we have plenty of policies, like a tourism policy which talks about 2002, and each policy says stresses about safety, etc. But it is the state government which is more responsible for that. And we have got something called Tourist Mitra, Tourist Helpline, etc. These need to be popularized, and also ensure that those who are traveling get to know what is the helpline they should contact when they are in distress, number one. And number two, as one of the panelists was mentioning, that a lot of tourists, they stay for longer periods, and they seek cheap accommodation and low-cost places. Now, these places should be under the surveillance of the police department. Otherwise, we have a very clear policy that whenever foreigners are staying in any police station jurisdiction, the hotel is supposed to send the report, etc. But it doesn't happen at all. And as Abha pointed it out, it is simply breakdown of law and order. There are no fast-track courts. There are fast-track courts are only on paper, and investigation takes its own time because of the various agencies. But now things are gradually improved. But definitely a woman, whichever country she comes from or whichever country she's visiting, she has a sixth sense of getting to know whether she is safe in that ecosystem or not, and that is what protects her completely. And these are cases which are very, very unfortunate, and we have to hang our head in shame for what happened in Hampi, because such a thing had never happened in Hampi. And for the kind of tourist number
No,
of tourists
this
who
is
come
what I
here,
want to come to you.
generally
This is what I want to come to you, and I
men
want to ask
are
you
a
this
little
because also
in
you've been a
awe of,
commissioner of police for Bengaluru. You would understand that terrain, that region far better than we would. It's a very simple thing. This is happening in one of the most popular places, and I was also reading that this is very popular with backpackers. It's an area that is loved with. It's an area which is thriving with
exactly very
all
no,
kinds
such
of
a incident has
institutions
never
for
ever
that
taken
matter.
place.
It's very popular, and this lady is not even traveling alone. She's traveling in a group.
I will tell you that place.
This is the most unfortunate thing that one could think of.
See, this place is also known for a lot of. See, another thing is that a lot of people are under the impression that India is a great destination for consuming a lot of chemical drugs, etc. And true to that, drugs are available in cheap, and there is no conviction. And the law enforcement people are in cahoots with the number of places with all these brokers, etc., who provide these things. So it is a concoction of all this kind of bad law and order system, which Abha was mentioning, is a cause for creating this kind of situation over there. Though we try our best, but this unfortunate incident is something which is, there is no words to condemn, because punishment is not there. There is no punishment. Tell me the general conviction rate of rape cases or POXO cases. Hardly anything over there. For some reason, because once the accused is caught, all the sympathy of the media, the judiciary, and the prison shift in favor of the accused, as if the victim was responsible for the crime. That kind of attitude gets built up over here. So as a result of which, nobody comes forth to depose. And again, tariq pe tariq, and there is no quick and fast disposal of cases. There is no fear of punishment, that if I do something wrong, punishment is going to follow. See what happened in Hampi. It is some lumen elements. These fellows should have known that if they had done something, punishment is going to follow. So we do our best,
in fact, let me
but
just get
these
it.
are very
And
unfortunate
it's interesting,
events.
Mr. Bhaskar Rao, you are saying you're accusing the media of sympathy. Actually, people would accuse the media largely of witch hunt. That you don't even wait for an accused to get to be determined as a convict, and you just get after them. I mean, Mirror now is an exception. We will not do that. But nonetheless, that's literally the narrative around it. But let me just get in Pragya Sen. Sure, Pragya Saini, if you could come in at this point. Pragya Saini, you're a young vlogger. You're the founder for This Is Delhi. How do you really look at all of this when you go around doing what you do? What's been your experiences? What have been your sensitivities to all of this?
So honestly, my heart aches that I'm here to discuss something this heinous, and we can discuss as much as we want. There has been multiple discussions about these sort of cases, but until and unless authorities come in, they have a stricter legal framework to actually put those perpetrators actually who have committed this sort of crime, in a position where they're actually afraid of the law. Till that time, nothing can make them afraid, and nothing can stop them. Honestly, as Lisa said, I am careful. I am also extremely careful. People are careful, and I'm sure this person was also careful. But you can tick mark as many checklists, like you can go to a super well-reviewed hotel, you can actually tell about your whereabouts to your parents, to somebody who's your emergency contact, and you can tick mark all the right boxes, but still things like this can happen anywhere. Ultimately authorities have to come in, police has to come in, and there has to be a stricter legal work and legal system to protect women travelers, and not even travelers, even the citizens. Delhi, as we all know, is the crime capital of the country. Things like these happen every single minute, every single hour. And until and unless we have a stricter law, which is either lifetime like they get a lifetime jail thing. I'm sorry. Or they are executed. Until and unless this kind of framework is there, they will not be afraid of anything. And things like these have happened with me as well.
Abha Singh?
And yes, I felt I did not feel comfortable going to the police, you know. I was checking all the hotels, they were well reviewed, and you know, things like that happen with you. But until unless we don't feel safe to go to the police, which is definitely one of the biggest reasons these things go unchecked, and you know, these things happen. We don't feel comfortable going there. So yeah.
Bhaskar Rao, this is a very, very important
And I also
point. A
completely
young
agree with
girl.
Abha,
I mean,
what
we're talking
Abha has
about
said. I
foreign
had a lot of
vloggers, for that matter, who've left the country because they've said that they were harassed. You have a young, social media influencer sitting with us, and she's saying, despite things happening with her, she's never felt safe to reach to the police. That's an utter failure.
No, this is very shameful. No, we have been sensitizing continuously, especially
Yes,
tourist
and I think-
intensive places. We have been giving them English speaking classes also. Be more empathetic and be more supportive. It is not that nothing is being, a lot of things are being done, but this is something which went out of hand, and there is no excuse for that. And it is really very shameful that people are leaving because police. Now, police has also improved considerably all over the country, and more so in southern states, where we are now making an effort to teach them English and be sort of proactive with foreigners. And especially since I was CP in Bangalore, we used to teach them, a lot of our policemen used to learn other languages apart from English also, to be more helpful to people of other countries, etc. But what your blogger young lady mentioned, it is true. A lot of places, they are not responsive, and they treat the victim itself with a lot of suspect, and that makes them very disgusted. And it is like repeating it is what we call as reconstruction of the crime. It's the crime gets only repeated by they mentioning what they went through. It should not happen. And the police academies and police training should be made very, very mandatory to ensure women's security, not just women, foreign tourist women, but women's security should be treated on topmost priority. Somehow a lot more has to be done. A lot has been done, but it is not sufficient.
Okay, to the three women on our panel, my last question to three of you. You three represent very, very distinct, very distinct areas of specialization. Yeah, sure. If you want to make a point, please go ahead, Pragya Saini.
Definitely. I just want to say this, that I'm sorry, somebody's here. Yeah, I just want to say this, that as a blogger, I feel like I see a lot of reels on Instagram, and you know, police is not doing their work. Instagram पे ज़्यादा मैं reels देख लेती हूँ जिनमें you know people are getting molested, and you know then they get the attention of the media, and then something is done about it. I mean, people don't feel comfortable going directly to the police. They just post online, and that's where they get the virality, and that's how they get you know justice. तो मुझे लगता है कि लोगों को डायरेक्टली पुलिस के पास जाने में कंफर्टेबल फील होना चाहिए, ना कि उन्हें रीलों पे वायरल होके, एंड दैट शुड बी द वे टू यू नो गेट जस्टिस फॉर समथिंग दैट हीनियस of probably getting molested, या probably getting raped, या ऐसी चीजें. I think Instagram और YouTube के through ज़्यादा viral होके they get the justice out of there. Otherwise, they, I think, will never find justice in this legal framework, and the authorities are not.
I think it's very important what you're saying. You're a young woman, you're a young woman entrepreneur, you're a social media influencer, and if you're making these points, my last 2 points, last 2 questions at this point to Abha Singh as well as Shobha Rudra. Both of you represent 2 very distinct fields of influence. Let me ask you this question. When we see these instances happening, how must brand India respond? 40 seconds to both of you.
You know,
can I also say
there is a
5
sense
seconds?
of alarm and insecurity. People who are planning to come to India, they change their program. programs and they are advised not to go. People like us who are also worried even that if our daughters are going somewhere late in the night, we are paranoid, we keep waiting till the time they come home, you don't want to sleep, you are wide awake. The amount of rampant drugs, lot of rape is happening because of these drugs, and these drugs are being sold under the protection of the police, of the local authorities. So I want this corruption which is so rampant needs to be tackled, and these police officers who are not doing their duty properly, they should be suspended. Okay. Accountability is required. If there is a systemic failure, then accountability of the people responsible. Have you suspended the police inspector of Hampi? Have you suspended the police inspector of Mahipalpur, whose duty was to see that there is security, whose duty was to see that the hotel employee who molested, his track record when he got a job, whether his past verification was done, because anyone who's employed, his verification should be done. So these are the things which are not done, and the result is such molestation and rape cases that happen.
Okay. Okay. Shobha Rudra, your 40 seconds. How must Brand India respond?
Yeah, with immediate action, first of all. And a lot of things like the tourist police was instituted at one point in time. And I would like to see that institution, I mean, that particular initiative really be put out there and say, yes, we are on it, and accept the fact that we are not able to protect our own women, right? And yes, it is the tourists and travelers. Brand India is for us also. And haven't we heard of so much? And the police has to take responsibility. The other thing is about checking these hotels thoroughly. It doesn't matter if it is Mahipalpur. It doesn't matter if it is Old Delhi. It doesn't matter if it's anywhere in the country. Are these hotels being are they being registered? Somebody had very clearly said that every tourist that comes into it, they are all supposed to fill a form, and there is a full there is a full document that goes into the police stations. So are they being provided with the right amount of security? Is the hotel even capable of hosting or keeping women travelers? Is it safe enough, especially in an area like Mahipalpur or something like that? Those are the things that they have to be addressed, and that is exactly where the police comes in. And these are exactly where the rules and laws come in.
Right. 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 Bhaskar Rao, you wanted to make a point. I'm totally out of time, but please make your point.
Yes, I only want to mention to you that, see, people who travel from here, they should not trust so much on social media without knowing and meeting a person. A lot of thugs out over there who want to profit out of lone women traveling. So a lot of this kind of reliance should not be placed on all this social media, Instagram, and believing and going with them and spending an evening, or their drinks get laced over there. They are taken away. And this is only reported cases you're talking. There are thousands of unreported cases. People don't even come forward to tell this over there. We are only distressed at the reported cases.
I think you're making a very important point, and that's also definitely needs consideration. Pragya Saini, your 5 seconds, 10 seconds before I wind up. I think you were making a point. Please go ahead.
Yes. Yes. I think places, I mean, even random hotels can be checked. They can be kept under check. But I think Mahipalpur definitely is not a random place. It's just 15 minutes away from the airport, and is like one of the best locations that somebody can, like a traveler can stay if they are probably late, they are arriving late. So I don't think it's random. I think police should have a strict check over there, because a lot of tourists, I think, stay over there.
I think a lot of wisdom, a lot of important points from the panelists here. Thank you very much for this very, very nuanced discourse. I think India needs more of this, and Brand India for sure needs to act fast. Lisa Taylor, thank you very much. She was with us earlier. Bhaskar Rao, thank you very much for your time and your inputs. Abha Singh, thank you very much for joining us. Pragya Saini, thank you very much for joining us and your perspective. Shobha Rudra, thank you very much for your time and your inputs. Thank you very much. Time for a very short break. On the other side, news and updates.